fastest growth in filmmaking and the fastest growth in storytelling was through weddings. And then I hated weddings.
Yeah.
You know? She's like, if you're not going to do it, you're not going to do it. I'm like, well, screw that. Then I'm going to do it.
As you describe these stories and these storylines, I can only imagine the other ideas that have been floating up in your head.
Oh, yeah.
Are there ever times where you even get a creative block, Jay?
I think people get so scared. Failure is a necessity.
Yeah.
I've traveled the country, I've networked like a beast, and I've never asked for favors. But now it's like, okay, I'm asking for favors.
Welcome to VDEOMKR,
the podcast that cuts past the highlight reel and takes you straight into the raw behind-the-scenes stories of creatives and makers. I'm Carly, founder of The Good Vibe Media, a woman-owned and operated video production agency and a creative studio space. Every week on VDEOMKR, I sit down with filmmakers, creators, and creative entrepreneurs for a deep, honest conversation you don't typically hear. The late nights, the pivots, the breakdowns that shape the breakthroughs. These are the conversations and stories that make people like me and so many other creatives need to hear. This is a space for growth, for lessons, for community, a place where we learn from each other's real, unfiltered journeys. This is VDEOMKR. Let's get rolling. Welcome to another episode of VDEOMKR. I'm Carly, your host, and today we have Jay. We have Jay on the podcast. Jay is a writer, director, cinematographer, actor, creative consultant, and story editor. He's an Emmy Award winner, writer-director of Rerun, which I cannot wait to discuss, has been featured in over 50 film festivals for his narrative and documentary work, and has collaborated with brands like Four Seasons, Nike, and BMW. Offset, he's also a husband and dad. We've been longtime fans of Jay and are so excited to have him on the show. So welcome, Jay.
Thank you so much. And that intro, I sometimes I hate hearing that stuff, you know, all these like accolades and awards and stuff. It just, people get wowed by them, but then they just focus on that. And then like that becomes who you are. It's like, I'm so much more than a stupid little statuette, or so much more than film festivals for films that I don't even like watching anymore, you know?
Well, that's what we're going to talk a lot about today. I'm just super grateful that you came on the show, because really the whole purpose of us having these conversations is to show people past all the awards, past all the exterior, you know, flashy, shiny object things, and hear like the real stories of you as a human being, as a creative, because at our core, that is who we are as human beings. Yeah. And I think that's what keeps us going, especially in moments where we're like in a creative rut, or we're stuck, or we feel alone. We need to hear stories like this. Yeah. And you're someone that I have respected so much over the years. You're one of the first people actually to kind of date myself going back when Instagram was like just a new thing and filmmakers and creatives could actually like be discovered and seen. You were one of the first filmmakers that I discovered here in the Valley as I was starting off my creative endeavors. And back then you were doing a lot of weddings and things like that, but your work and your storytelling was something that just caught my attention instantly. And then getting to know you as a person more and more over the years, it just makes me respect and honor you even more. So I'm thrilled to have you on the show, and thrilled for people to really get to know behind the scenes a little bit more too. So thanks for being on.
Yeah, it's so cool how something as wild as social media can kind of like feed these long-term friendships and networks and stuff like that. It's so crazy.
True. It is the positive part of social media. There's a lot of
probably the only positive
part. Let's be honest. Okay, before we get into this conversation, I want to start with a few just quick rapid fire questions just to get us warmed up a little bit. Okay, first one is your first creative spark. So what was the first thing you ever made that you were really proud of?
I mean, that depends on what your definition of proud of is, because the first thing I made was probably when I was maybe around 8 or so. My brother had a camera and we were just making a video in our like neighborhood, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And my brother was the one filming at the time. He's 5 years older than me, but I was just so excited to just be on camera talking about our neighborhood. And it was just this feeling of, wow, I can make cool things. So technically that was probably the first thing I was really proud of. And then if you want to go to maybe a little bit older of actually creating things, I remember creating just this goofy video with my friends for a school project. We were kind of making like a mockumentary type thing for boy bands. This is when boy bands were like, huge. And I was a huge NSYNC and Backstreet Boys fan. 98 Degrees, not so much. But I like knew the dances, I knew the song lyrics, I knew all of it. And we just kind of made this thing where we were just making fun of boy bands. And I was the shy guy. And then there was a heartthrob. The heartthrob, his name's Kellen Lutz. And he went to Horizon High School. I went to Chaparral High School, but we knew each other because of church. And Kellen Lutz, he's this actor now, and he was in Twilight. He was in a bunch of other movies and stuff, but he was like the heartthrob, and of course, because he was, always the heartthrob. But yeah, that was probably the first time I'm like, this is so fun creating something so stupid, but it's so enjoyable.
Yeah. Which when people watch it too, they like got so much joy out of it too, right?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think probably we got more joy out of it. But,
let's be honest. Okay, I love that. Okay, what's your daily fuel? Is it coffee, tea, or something stronger?
I would say something stronger, which would be in the form of some sort of energy drink, which I'm trying to quit energy drinks. And when I say try, it's a very passive try. I'm very much addicted to caffeine, and I've been able to cancel out a lot of addictions in my life, but caffeine is one that I know I should kick, but I haven't kicked. I haven't really tried to kick, but I just know eventually I need to stop.
Yeah. One thing at a time.
Yeah.
One thing at a time. Caffeine, not quite yet.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. Okay. This is a good one. Your creative environment. Where do you feel the most creative? Is it a desk, a plane, a shower, somewhere else?
I think it varies. Usually the common theme is when I'm alone. If I'm at home and my wife and kids are home, like I might technically be alone in my office, but I don't necessarily feel very creative because I can hear them and they're usually fighting or they're, just crazy. So I would say when I'm traveling, so I have some of my most creative thoughts when I'm waiting at the airport or I'm on a plane or when I'm driving by myself or if I'm on a run by myself. I don't run with people, I run by myself. So like if I have like a long run, I get a lot of creative ideas there.
Do you listen to music when you run?
I'm kind of all over the place. I'll listen to music, I'll listen to podcasts, I'll listen to audiobooks. But I notice when I listen to audiobooks, it sucks because I'm not really paying attention.
Yeah.
I'm just like in this creative, one line in an audiobook will just get my mind thinking. Same thing with a podcast. And then it's like, dang it, I got to re-listen to this podcast because I didn't get anything out of it. And then usually I'll listen to music if I'm listening to, I use Nike Run and I'll listen to the, what is it called? The Headspace Nike runs and, or some of their other guided meditation runs, but I'll have my music in the background. So it's usually that really helps a lot. Just like being present and it just really gets creativity going.
Yeah. I can totally relate with you on that one too. Okay. 4 more. Nice. This one's great. Inspiration swipe file. Who is someone you drop everything to work with and why?
It could be anybody.
Anybody.
I don't know. I think it'd be a tie between the typical cliche filmmaker answer would be like Christopher Nolan. Like that guy is just, he's just on a whole nother level. Another would be Taika Waititi. Because I think he's one of those people who he's not everything he does is awesome or isn't received as awesome, but he's still just uniquely himself and creative and artistic and funny. And he just he's just him. And I really respect that about some people like that, where I don't feel like he's one of those people that is giving in to social norms. He's just this wildly creative person, and not everything sticks, but a lot of it does. not everything's accepted, but a lot of it is. And it's just one of those, I feel like I would just probably enjoy working with him just as much as Christopher Nolan.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So you don't sleep. You're always,
I
you're
mean,
the Energizer
I'm
bunny. It's because of all the caffeine
Yeah.
you're drinking.
I'm finding that as I'm getting older, I don't mind going to bed early, you know? But what I will say I prefer mornings because when you get up early, there's this kind of this like peace, like it's like the world hasn't started yet. And if I get up before my kids do, then it's like really this like stillness going on. But I don't mind staying up late either. I guess maybe I just have like a bad relationship with sleep. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to be said about that because even at night, there's some quiet stillness too that you can find.
Yeah.
But it's just when when you get your wheels spinning.
Yeah, I was talking to my wife the other day, and sometimes we'll just like get in like random questions, like you know what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
And like one thing I asked, and I already knew the answer, but I just asked it, and I'm like, "Do you prefer driving at night or during the day?" And she's like, "Oh, during the day because my eyesight isn't that great." And I said, I actually prefer driving at night because, like, especially after a shoot where, like, maybe you got out at midnight or 1 a.m. and I'm driving and there's just, like, nobody on the road.
Yeah.
It's extremely peaceful and very calm. And I can turn on music and just get in all the feels.
Yeah.
And I just love that.
Yeah. It is good. It is good. Okay. I say that all of these are my favorite, but this one is really good because I love to hear the answers from this. If your filmmaking journey had a theme song, what would your theme song be?
I don't know. I'm going to have to pass on
You're
that.
You're going to pass? Okay,
the
maybe
reason
we'll
why
come back.
is because there's so many different songs I would pick, and it's just really hard to pick one. But I resonate with so many, and they all have completely different vibes to them.
Yeah. Respect. Okay, what is one thing about your creative process that people would be really surprised to know about?
I am not a preparer.
Yeah.
By any means. For example, yesterday I was doing this education thing for a client, not for like public facing or anything, but like I was the educator, and they're like, okay, here's the outline. Didn't look at the outline.
Yeah.
Here's the talking points. Didn't look at the talking points. And then here's a script. Didn't look at the script either. Rejected the teleprompter. And then just like, they're like, okay, now it's your turn to go on camera and talk. And it's like, okay, cool. What are we talking about? Great. All right. I know what I'm going to say. Let's go. Yes. So I hate preparing for things like that. Yeah. I'll prepare for some things, but it's very minimal. And it's kind of like, I think if I know what I'm doing, what do I need to prepare for?
Yeah.
If I like, even with like the film that I did, I wrote the film. I know like the vision's there. What else do I need to like really prepare for other than maybe some logistical things, which also I can hand off to somebody else to do. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love so much about you is because, and I think it's what makes you such a good storyteller and documentary filmmaker and such a great creative in general, is because you are so, it's almost like you've got this intuitive, thing working inside of you to be able to know and have the confidence that you don't have to prepare, and what's going to come is exactly what is supposed to be.
Well, I think also we could just prepare nonstop, and for the most part it's probably gonna end up how we prepared for it. But also there could be a curveball that could come, and if you are so stuck in what you prepared for and that curveball comes, you're gonna be off your game. But also too, it's like a lot of it is just my obsession with really attempting to be in the present moment. So like right now, if you had sent me a list of what we're going to talk about, and I had gone through it and then the conversation went elsewhere, well, my mind is still stuck on what we prepared for, that it's hard for me to come to like these questions that, are out of nowhere. And then I'm not going to give you the best answers. And it's just one of those things where I feel like if I'm maybe less prepared with the topic, but just more prepared of who I am as a person, who I am creatively, then I should be fine in any situation.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's rewind back to, younger Jay.
Yeah.
I want to know a little bit more of the background. You've worn many hats and you've been in different industries, and you've had quite the journey to get to where you are today. And you could Google your name and find out a lot of that surface level stuff, which is good. Not saying that it's surface level, but you can find the timeline of the history of what has led you to where you are today. But I would love to take it even a little deeper and hear more about what makes you to have this perspective and where you're sitting today. What has really shaped you to be who you are and what you're doing in this current present moment?
I think, well, first I'll say I feel like I'm still being shaped and
Yes.
molded, and like I'm very thankful for that too, to not be stuck in a certain way, and I'm constantly evolving and changing. But I know there's certain core things about me that's always been there. So growing up, I was alone a lot. Like, didn't have a lot of friends, got made fun of a lot. I was tiny. I mean, when I graduated high school, I was probably like 100 pounds. So it's just tiny. And I was always like the shortest in my class. And I'm like average height now, but I got like a lot of alone time, and I learned to really cherish that alone time. And in that alone time, one of the things that I got was just the capability of feeling whatever I was feeling, whether it was like sadness or happiness or loneliness or whatever, feeling these emotions in a deep way and not having distractions to keep me from feeling them or dealing with them. So emotions and feelings became incredibly important to me, and they still are today. And like whether or not I handled those emotions correctly or the right way, or even if there is a correct way, that's another thing. But I was thankful for the alone time because I was able to sit in those feelings. And a lot of times there were sad feelings. A lot of times there were loneliness or frustration or anger or whatever. A lot of them were negative feelings. Then like because I had this alone time, I was able to fill it with, well, I don't have friends, so what am I going to do? I'm not just going to sit in the corner with my feelings, So then I kind of just turned that into this like, artistic thing of like drawing and then Lego building, and it's like just making stories up, and making stories up filled a lot of my time. And I would then like paint things and draw things that had a story behind it. And I thought for the longest time that I was going to be an artist, and I thought that I was going to become this famous painter or something that had to involve me having a canvas. But then I just became more interested in these stories, because when you look at a painting, you see the painting, and then the person looking at the painting can kind of come up with their own story. But I wanted people to see the story that I was telling. And I wanted people to feel what I was feeling, because the feelings were just so intense. And I remember seeing this thing, I can't remember who said it, and they were like, if you were this like little, thing in space, and like God said to you, hey, see that little blue dot right there? Do you want to live there temporarily for a very short time and experience anxiety, anger, fear, happiness, joy, and just experience all levels of humanity and feelings? Would you want to do that? I'd be like, yeah, of course I do. Because from what we understand so far, I've turned, little side note, I've turned into a space nerd. I've like when I travel, I'll watch videos about black holes and like astrophysics and quantum mechanics and stuff. It's just become like this weird passion of mine. But like for the most part, what we can see of the universe, what we have here with humanity, seems to be a very rare thing. There could be something out there, but we haven't seen it yet. So from what the large area that we have seen that's large to our scale, there isn't anything. So how beautiful is it that we get to experience something that's so rare and so special of these feelings like anxiety, of fear, of anger, of happiness, of joy, of excitement, of nervousness. Like it's such a weird thing that we get to have that we're not seeing anywhere else,
Totally.
So I find that, to me, that has been a value of mine all my life. And then I start to really plug that in to all my life, whether that's filmmaking, parenting, being a spouse, being a friend, being an educator, being a creative. I just really always center myself back into feelings and emotions, because I think it's something that we have that, we're just not seeing anywhere else.
For sure. Can you tell me what it looked like for you when you started to really like set some roots in this career of turning filmmaking into like a lucrative career for you? Did you go to film school?
No.
Like, okay, so talk to me about that, because a lot of people watching are maybe in the industry, but a lot of people are starting to, get into the industry and want to know everyone's path of like, well, how did they do it? How did they even get their like feet into it? So will you tell us that?
Yeah.
That portion?
I mean, like I said, I started doing these stupid videos with friends, and I was doing that with friends, and I would do it in church, and I just had so much fun making something that made people smile. But I also loved being on camera too. I loved being the one that was making people laugh. I loved the idea that somebody could watch this and get joy out of it, and it was just doing, and it's kind of like with exercise. Like a lot of people will walk into a gym and they get intimidated and they don't know what to do. You just got to start. It's the same thing with investing, you go into like Robinhood or Fidelity or Schwab or whatever, and you just see all these stocks, and it's like, well, you can be intimidated by it and walk away and then not invest in anything, and then you lose out on opportunity. Or you can just start investing and learn by trial and error, lose some, then make some, and then lose some and make some, and then just you slowly get better and better. But the only thing is you have to just start doing something. Yeah. And I think people get so scared of failure. Totally. When you and I both know failure is a necessity in any sort of success.
For sure.
And so creating videos with friends, then it turned into I was creating videos for a fitness business I started after school, because I had gone to school for kinesiology and stuff like that. And I started a fitness business. I'm like, oh, I'll make these videos that inspire people. Because this is when Biggest Loser was out, and it's everyone was inspired by Biggest Loser. Yeah. And so I was creating these fitness videos, and I liked that people were getting inspired by it, but I didn't really see a lot of ROI on the fitness business. And so I was getting discouraged with the fitness business, and I was becoming maybe a little too obsessed with the health and fitness aspect of it for myself. And so then I started doing weddings, because I really liked creating videos. And this was this is when highlight films for weddings were kind of starting to become a thing.
You would go on Vimeo and there'd be two that inspired. Was this 2014 or?
No, this is earlier than that.
Oh, really?
2000, I don't know, 2011.
Oh,
maybe.
okay. Yeah. So they really were out there, because I remember too, I think I did my first wedding film in 2000. Well, probably was 2011 or 2012, around the time my daughter was born. But I would go on Vimeo and I could not find anything to get inspired, because what you knew of wedding films was your parents' VHS tape.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you would see one love story film and you're like, oh yeah, this is what I want to create for this couple.
Well, and also everything else was so cheesy before. And then when the DSLR came out, and Philip Bloom came out with using a 5D for stuff, and everything had this 1.4 depth of field, and you're like, whoa, this is so cinematic. And weddings, I mean, it was just such a easy thing to fall into, because it was starting to gain momentum. And I already had some experience in making videos, but like it was just kind of this moment of like going into Robinhood or Fidelity and being like, wow, there's so much going on. What do I even do?
Well, and it's like you're served on a silver platter because you're speaking of emotion, and it's like this is the most emotional, monumental day of this couple's lifespan, and what an honor to be able to like tell that emotional story. I mean, it's literally just serving on a silver platter.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, not to discredit it, but it's like you're given all the ingredients.
Yes.
Yeah. It's pretty easy to showcase the emotion of a wedding day. So it's instant gratification too when you're creating the story. So it's an accelerated learning program, I feel like. And that's where I got the fastest growth in filmmaking and the fastest growth in storytelling was through weddings. And then I hated weddings.
Yeah.
But it was weddings was what made me realize, I can actually make money making videos.
Totally. Yeah. The hard part about weddings too, I'm so in alignment with you in the storyline too, because I feel like, again, I started getting into videos at that same time frame, but like my daughter was really young and spending every single weekend, like busting my butt at these weddings it was so fulfilling and it filled my bank account. And I was telling these beautiful stories that would give that instant gratification. And like, I'm doing a good job at my work because everyone's in love with my work because it's, I'm documenting the most epic day of their life. But then I was missing out on like a big portion of my life that needed to be fulfilled, which was spending the time with my daughter on the weekends. So that was such a big navigation in time and like personal journey. And I'm curious about your, like how it shifted. Like when did you get that first big contract that was outside of wedding? How did that look? Did you seek it out? Did something fall in your lap? How did that even play out?
Yeah. Well, first let me touch on the weekend thing because like, you have kids, I have kids, they go to school, they're in school all week and then they have the weekend where they can spend time with you. But if you're off shooting 2 weddings a weekend at, 8 to 10 hours of that day, you're gone. And then it's like almost every single day is now like a school day and you get limited time. And I know my daughter, she's 12 now. I know I missed a lot of things that I wish I hadn't missed because I was at a wedding or I was traveling for a wedding. And, there's no regrets or anything, but it's just one of those things where, man, it sucks that I missed that, Yeah.
But it's a beautiful part of like what has built your creative journey and built you to be the filmmaker that you are today, it sounds.
Yeah. And I travel too much still.
Yeah.
And I'm gone more than I want to be, but I'm still a very involved and present father. And like, I really make sure that I'm there for as much as I possibly can be. So, I mean, everybody's situation is different, but I did notice that with weddings where the consistency of missing weekends was really hard,
For sure.
But the first contract I got was from a wedding.
Okay.
And I shot a friend's wedding at a discount.
Yes.
And it was like this, it was a like silver leaf, whatever it's called. So it's like really lavish, which is weird. Like, why is it a discount if it's at silver?
Yeah,
right?
I know.
But he had a hookup there too.
Yeah.
So he's just like this master at networking. And so he had hookup after hookup after hookup. So I'm like, this would be a great portfolio piece. Filmed it. Wedding teaser was great. Wedding trailer was great. And then he had a friend who was at the wedding who was a VP for loss prevention at PetSmart. And like loss prevention at PetSmart. Ooh, that sounds exciting, right? He saw the wedding film and he's like, hey, if you can do that with a wedding film, can you do that for our training videos? And I'm just like, yes. Yeah. So I show up. He's like, okay, well, let's just do this as a trial. 1 video, 1 topic. Here's, everything. And loss prevention it's like everything has to be compliant. Everything has to follow OSHA. You can't have different logos in the background. Like there's just a laundry list of things that can be an editor's nightmare, or there's reshoots or whatever. So I show up, one man, and I've got like my little steady cam I got my little camera. I didn't bring any lights because I didn't know how to do lighting back then. Yeah. And he was sweating because the previous crew that they had before was a crew with lighting and like all this stuff. And he's just like, man, I'm going to get reamed for this. But I do the first pass, and then they instantly signed me for the rest of the year.
Yeah, they were blown away.
They're like, away.
Wait a second, you can produce this with that.
Exactly,
and you're redefining the whole industry. Like that's what I feel like people that are so old school in production, they can, at least I've felt this energy on set where I'm working with people that have been in the industry for so long. It's like they are set in their ways of like, oh, this is how it's been. And they've got this like, oh, this new wave of, production. It's just so different because that's the evolution of the industry. Yeah. That's the evolution of all the equipment that we use and how we operate it. So I love that you shared that story. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I feel like it just goes up and down with the industry. Mm-hmm. There's a push for 100 people to be on set, and then there's a push for a small set. And I think after COVID, there was this realization all across the board that they had to have less people on set. Yeah. I think companies were like, we can do this, charge the same, make more money, and have less people on set, creating something almost as good or just as good as if we had 100 people on set. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong, like it's great when there are a lot of helping hands, but like it's not always necessary.
Needed. Yeah, for sure. Well, and the demand for more content, like quality content, is just getting higher and higher and higher.
Yeah. Well, when your iPhone is shooting what is better than what I started with, it's crazy.
I mean, it is crazy to think of. Yeah. And it seems like such a long span of time, but when you really look at it, it's like, damn, stuff is evolving very quickly. Yeah. Okay. On those like same lines, I'm curious if there was a time where you've worked with a client and you felt like this creative pull to go one direction, but client is saying go this direction. And like, how did that, tell me how that felt for you internally of like, and how you navigated it, I guess I should say.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you have to consider. One, this is your paycheck, right? And so you sometimes have to swallow your pride and know that this isn't all about you. And also, not every project is amazing. And I think people look at Instagram and they're like, wow, you're doing such amazing things. Like, no, I'm only showing you a tiny little glimpse of what I do because everything else I'm not showing you because I'm not passionate about it or excited about it. Yep. So a lot of my client work is work that isn't glamorous or exciting. What is glamorous and exciting is I like working with people and I like the creative process and I like seeing what we started with turn into something. Like that's the glamorous part, but like I'm not going to be showcasing some of this stuff because it's not going to be glamorous to anybody else. And when I've come to a point where I have a creative idea and it's the client has a creative idea and they want to go a different direction, I have to like come back and center myself of, at the end of the day, this is their business. This is their vision, or they have a certain results that they're trying to go for. I'm not always going to be right. And even though I may disagree, and I'm going to voice why I disagree and why I recommend something else, at the end of the day, like they're the ones writing the check. Right. And if it was something different, like if I was a Christopher Nolan or a Steven Spielberg, then it'd be different. Then they'd be like, okay, yes, whatever you say, Mr. Nolan, whatever you say, Mr. Spielberg. But I'm not like that, So I have to be respectful and I have to like really consider that, okay, maybe what I think is right actually may not be right, and it might be serving my creative itch more than actually serving the client. And sometimes I have to like just let it go and then just deal with it internally and, deal with that frustration later.
Yeah, totally. No, I feel that so much. You were talking a little bit about like you being this one man show and like producing these things so well for some of these companies, like as a one man band, but I know you've done bigger productions too. How do you find your community? Like, how do you find your people or find the right, like aligned people to bring on set for certain projects. What has been kind of your process or anything that you do that someone listening might take away of like, oh yeah, I need to be doing more of this to like connect with the right people for my creative endeavors?
Well, I'm going to sound like a jerk when I say all this. I hate community so much. And the reason is
well, you've been so good at being alone. Like that was a big part of your story.
I like my tribe, I guess you could say. And like, I like having deep relationships with a small amount of people.
Yes. Love that.
And I'm an introvert who has to come across as an extrovert. And a lot of the times, like when I'm on set, like people think I'm extroverted, but like, no, I'm not. A lot of it is just like, I have to push myself to be that kind of personality to get things done. But for the most part, I hate community. I did this course with, her name's, Alejandra Vidal, and she was talking about community. She's like, oh, we need to build this community. I'm just like, no, I don't want to. Like, can we just like make the stuff and just let people see it and be done with it? And it has nothing to do with me thinking I'm like arrogant or like egotistical or anything. I very much enjoy just a small group. And right now that small group is a very short list, and it's great. So when it comes to like finding people, usually I just do that through social media. I have traveled pretty much all over the United States. I have networked with a lot of people. I have been that extrovert when I needed to be, and I don't like burning bridges, and I like meeting people. But it's just one of those things where I just try to network, and then when I need somebody, I know where to go.
It's so refreshing to hear, because I think there are so many of us creatives that feel like we have to be putting ourselves out there, have to be getting in the room, but we don't, like, our internal wiring just doesn't operate that way. Right. So like, I'm grateful that you shared that and like gave that permission and perspective, because it is true. Like, and I feel like the more you're creating in your truth and your authenticity, like the more you're just going to start to attract the people that really are going to be the core of who you need, you know? And
well, and like, I also too, like thinking about the greats that I love, like, you know, do you think that these high level people like Nolan, like Taika Waititi, like whatever, do you think they're in Facebook groups commenting and helping everybody? Do you think that they are doing these like group of, I mean, they might be, I don't know, but like I feel like for the most part these high level people have their tribe, they have their group, and they network here and there, but for the most part, like they're pretty satisfied with their, you know, close-knit group.
Yes. No, I totally feel that. I really want to shift gears because I want to talk about your film.
Let's do it.
Yes. Tell us about your film. Just kick it off. Tell us what it is, and then I want to get into kind of the behind the scenes of how the idea even came about. Yeah.
Well, it's the first of many, I'll say that. And it's, again, having to just go out and do it. I've always wanted to make feature-length films. So I was making excuses nonstop about creating it, whether it was work, family, just life in general, money. I made excuses on not doing it, but it's like, I want to make not just one, I want to make many films. And I'm a filmmaker, so where are my films, right? I'm tired of making short films, although like I'm in the process of pre-production for like 2 different short films right now, because short films are really fun. But I had to do something. And my wife was the one who actually pushed me. She's like, if you're not going to do it, you're not going to do it. I'm like, well, screw that. Then I'm going to do it. And so it's the thing that it's not like this Academy Award winning feature length film that's taking me to, you know, the heights of Hollywood. It's a stepping stone. And just like throwing myself into weddings, it was learning how to make it so that the next one I make, I won't make some of the same mistakes. And then the next one, same thing. It's just like continually getting better, but I had to start somewhere. And I have a bunch of scripts that I've written because I've always wanted to do a full length film. And this was the youngest script, and I had written it really fast, and I just fell in love with the idea so much. I'm like, this has to be the first one. Yeah. And now there's Rerun out there, and it's been one of my favorite things that I've ever done.
I love it. We'll talk about the process of it. Like when you had the idea, wrote the script, did you raise money? What was that process?
No.
No?
When it's a couple of things. So like I said, I've traveled the country, I've networked like a beast, and I've never asked for favors. But now it's like, okay, I'm asking for favors. So I filmed it all right, let's map this out here.
Yeah.
I live in Arizona. I casted it. Like 90% of the actors were from Los Angeles. So in my head, I'm like, all right, makes sense to go film it in Los Angeles. Yeah. And then I decided I did not want to DP it. I could have, but I decided not to. I mean, I did hold the camera a few times. There's some things I filmed, but for the most part, 90% of it I did not. And it felt really refreshing doing that. I directed it, and that was the focus. The DP that I picked lives in Chicago. He's a good friend of mine. I had hired him for other stuff, for commercial work. And then we were talking about the film, and we were talking about locations and logistics and gear. And it just made more sense to film it in Chicago. But like all my actors are in LA. So it's like, oh man, this is starting to get expensive, right? But it ended up being more cost effective doing that because he had all these hookups for locations. So it starts with, I had a hookup with him because he wanted to do something outside of his norm. Yeah. And I was willing to give him a chance because I loved how he filmed and his choices with lighting and all that. So it's like, great, like I'm going to pay you, but like we're going to figure it out. You know, there was never like this day rate or it's going to cost this much. And it's like, we didn't really even know how long it's going to take to film it. And then with the actors, it was conveniently around the writers and actors strike. I had to approach SAG to get a waiver. What's funny about it is when you go to get a waiver, they ask you all these questions. And like, there's all these tiers for the budget of your film. Yeah. So there's like ultra high budget, which is like $10 million. And then there's high budget, which is like $3 million. And then there's medium budget, which is like, I don't know, it was like 800,000. And then there's low budget, which was like 300,000. And then there's ultra low budget, which was like, I don't know, like 120,000. And then they're like, what is your budget? And I'm like, maybe like 30,000, you know, something like that. And then I got a response and they're just like, we're not even sure if you need a waiver. Like, yeah. Is this like a student film? Like, what is this? You know? But I mean, I was still because the strike was going on, I still had to get the waiver stuff. And then it was just a matter of figuring out, can I use points to fly actors out? What can I spend of my own money to like book hotels, to like cover for food, cover for some location costs, cover for gear rental costs. And so I wanted to take on the financial burden on myself only because then I had nobody else to answer to. Right. And when you have an investor, you got to answer to them. Yes. And then all of a sudden they have a say in some of the, you know, creative choices. Yes. And they may not have a creative bone in their body. Totally. And so it was all self-financed. I ended up not spending as much as I thought, but more than I wanted. And, you know, it ended up being this thing where now I feel like for my next one, I'll probably spend more because it's like a little bit grander of a vision. But I know it forced me more into a producer role of knowing how can I create something beautiful, create something that tells a story in a way that's not breaking the bank. Yeah. That's saving money. And so, it was just.
So what was the biggest expense in that when you look at the whole production of that first film of Rerun, what was the biggest expense for you?
Probably making everybody go to Chicago.
Yeah.
Like the plane tickets and the lodging and feeding everybody and giving them a per diem for, food and getting from point A to point B with, rental cars or Ubers and all that. Like all of that ended up probably being the largest amount.
Mm-hmm. And how many roles did you have on set? How many, people were
For,
in
like,
your
crew?
production crew? Yeah.
I mean, there was me, there was my DP, and I would say there's like 2 DPs because there's him and his buddy Steven. They were kind of switching off doing stuff. So it was the 2 of them, and then we would have, I don't know, a handful of PAs. So maybe like 2 or 3 PAs. We had a sound guy that bailed, so we would take turns doing sound.
Yeah.
Sometimes I was doing the sound. Sometimes, like they would switch off doing sound. And it sucks because some of the dialogue suffered from that just because I'm not a sound guy. I know what to do, kind of, but I'm also like directing it at the same time, And so holding a boom pole while like telling the actor, like, hey, all right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to do this, and it's it gets very chaotic.
Sure.
But I would say the most crew we would have would probably have been like 7 people,
incredible.
Maybe 10.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And what was post-production process like for you and for this?
So I edited the film.
Okay.
But I did not do the sound mixing and I did not do the color. I again wanted to like let go of a lot of things, and I know like I'm strong with sound, but I knew people who are stronger with coloring. I'm very weak with coloring, so I was like, well, if this is gonna be a feature film, we got to make it look really nice. It's shot on these like really great cameras and really great lenses, so let's make sure it reflects that. So I hired a colorist, and but yeah, editing. I filmed it. The months were October and November, and then I had a first draft around January. Wow. And I neglected a lot of projects because I became very obsessive over it, and had like a lot of clients being like, "Hey, where's my stuff?" And it's like, "Yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there." And then I didn't really finish it until probably June.
Okay.
Because it went through a couple iterations, sending it to people, being open-minded, being like, what do you think of this? Like I know what I like about it, but you as a viewer who's never watched this, like, what do you think? What sucks? Don't tell me the good stuff. Tell me the bad stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear the good stuff. I want to hear the bad stuff.
Were you surprised? Was there any feedback that you got where you're like, oh, wow, totally shifted my...
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. There was a couple scenes that dragged on, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I could see that. Maybe I could cut out some dialogue here and there, because I'm not like a trained, screenwriter either. I just kind of wrote the way that I saw it in my head. And so there was like a lot of scenes that were long that I was able to cut in half that kept the movie going,
Yeah. So cool.
Yeah.
Were there any like moments throughout the process of producing this first film specifically where you're like, fuck, I don't know if I'm going to see this through the end? It doesn't really sound like it, because when you got into post, you were like so in it. But were there any moments where you're just like, you feel like you've hit a wall, and how did you get yourself out of that? And maybe not so much even with this first film, but you could make it even more broad.
Yeah.
Too.
So you gotta remember, this is my first feature, and this is also everyone else's first feature too. And I, coming from a primarily commercial world and wedding world, I guess, there's a lot of things that just don't know. And so there's things that I would know from just watching movies or watching YouTube videos, just kind of learn. And I remember my DP, there's this rule, it's the 180 rule.
Yeah.
And it's like, what that means right now is like, you got that camera right there that's pointed here, that which is here, and that which is there. Yeah. And so you're always on this side, okay? You're never having a camera over here. Like, you would do that in some situations where you're trying to build like tension or uneasiness or
disrupt the viewer.
Yeah. But for the most part, you got this 180 view. And for me, it was common knowledge. But for my DP, he was just like starting to get into like DP mode of like creative angles that were not necessarily relevant to like, why would we have this angle? How is this pushing the emotion? How is this pushing like the story or the feeling of this scene? And it was just like doing a cool angle for a cool angle, you know? And then it was starting to like break this 180 rule. And I explained to him this 180 rule, and he's just like, it was like I was speaking Chinese to him. He's like, what? That doesn't make sense. How does that make sense? I'm like, show me a film where that's not like that, you know? And it's like very rare, and it's very intentional on why, and not just to have a cool angle. And then there's other parts where we were filming, and he's such a creative, talented guy, but sometimes he has a hard time retaining information. And so he's like, there's a lot of times where we'd be filming something, and he's just like, I don't know where we are in the story. And he's like, I'm not actually sure I know the story. And it's like, hold on a second. And like, it was just kind of a lot of sharing and hand holding with certain things with the story aspect to get him there. And of course he would always get there. And so there's moments where it's like, man, are we ever going to finish this? Like we're losing daylight, or we're losing our window of time here at this location. And then it's, am I being too picky with things? Do I need to let go of things? And it kind of came to a point of, I need to let go of things where we could have done something different and redid it, or we could have just moved on. And I found that I needed to just move on and know that not every single thing was going to be the best 100%. This is exactly my vision. And it's just kind of learning to adapt and then trust the collaborators that I'm with. Remembering like, I'm not the creative genius here. Like we're all doing this together. So like, how can we together make this? Because this isn't a J movie. This is everybody involved movie. Right. I just happen to be the one who came up with the idea. And so it's just like, how are we all creating something? You know?
I love that. Are you taking the same crew with you for these future films? Do you think, like, what are you taking from this first film experience with you as you are in pre-production for what's next?
Not taking the same crew. And I love the idea of not taking the same crew just because, I don't know, then I get to learn from a different DP, you know, different actors. There is a short film I'm doing where I'm using one of the actors from from the last movie. But I'm using other actors too. And I'm using a different DP. And I just kind of like the idea of finding other people, other creatives, and not every film is going to be the same. I know there's filmmakers that use a lot of the same crew. I'm just not there yet, you know? And I don't know if I ever will be. I like being open to new styles, you know?
Yeah. Can you give people a little tease? How much can you share of what's coming, what you're working on?
I'm working on a bunch of things.
Yeah.
So I'm working on this short film that I'm really excited about. It's such a stupid story, but it makes me think of when I would make those cheesy, stupid videos when I was a kid. And it's an AI video. Okay. It's not made. I'm not using AI to make it. The concept is about AI. But say, person A who works at this company and person B who works at this company. Person A receives an email from person B. It's a long ass email. I mean, we've all seen it. I hate long ass emails, and I skim through them. I never read a long ass email. So he sees it and he's just like, ugh. And then he sees this little like AI button on his email saying like AI auto response. And then he sees a sign in his cubicle that says like AI is in beta, don't use for professional use. And he like looks around and he just hits it, comes out with this whole thing, and he doesn't proofread it. You know, he's like, sweet, sends it. That goes to person B. Person B gets this long ass email. And it's like, ugh, they see an AI button. They're the same sign in their thing. They're not supposed to do anything with it. And she just is like, I think I'm going to do it. So she presses the button. It's a comes out with this long thing, sends back. And they just have it on autopilot, and it's just AI responding to AI, you know? And they are oblivious. They're not proofreading anything. And the thing with AI is one little thing can set it off course. One little thing. So what I had was, one of the emails sent, one AI interprets it as flirtation. So naturally they're like, okay, well, I'm interpreting this as flirtation, so I need to flirt back. Yeah. So they flirt back. Then it turns into this like romance going on. And then it turns into this, well, we need to run away together. And like, well, we need funds for that. Well, I found a loophole on how we can launder money from this company. And meanwhile, like they're just like completely oblivious to what's going on. And then what happens is like person A walks into work, and his boss calls him in, and there's these agents with these boxes of emails printed out, and then he ends up getting arrested. And then person B, she walks in, and these companies are across the street from each other.
Oh my
Person
God.
B walks in, same thing, boxes of emails, she gets arrested. Now at the end of the film, I don't care about spoiling this.
Yeah.
At the end of the film,
So good.
they're in their SUVs, the FBI SUVs, and person A looks over and he sees person B. This is the first time they've ever seen each other.
Oh my gosh.
And it ends up being like love at first sight.
I cannot handle. I love this
And then like they drive off in opposite directions, so you never know if they ever reconnect. But it's kind of one of those things where like, would they have ever seen each other beforehand? This chaos bred this moment of instant like attraction and love or something like that. So,
oh my gosh, I freaking love this so much.
Yeah, so there's that.
So
then
good.
I have this like very depressing space movie that I just love so much.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to make it because there's a lot of really fun elements of this astronaut who he basically, I'll kind of go over the synopsis because it's on my site, but I can give more detail.
Yeah.
So there's this astronaut. So the closest galaxy to us is Andromeda. It's about 2 million light years away. So when you're traveling the speed of light, I'm excited to like share.
Love this.
I love sharing this kind of stuff. So when you're traveling the speed of light, to the traveler, it's instant.
Yeah.
So where 2 million years may have gone by, to whoever is traveling that, it's like boom, you're there. So there's this astronaut, and he ends up getting the opportunity to go to Andromeda. The catch is it's a one-way trip because that's 2 million years there, Earth time, 2 million back, so 4 million years will have passed. But it's just an opportunity for humanity to go explore, so and find other life. So he goes to Andromeda by himself, and he starts finding these worlds, and he's like finding that there's just not life in any of these worlds, and he's starts to realize that he's alone, and he's like, wait, I have to get back. I have to get back to, home, whatever it looks like in 4 million years. Like, I don't care. I have to get back. Now our galaxies are moving, like Andromeda is actually moving towards, our galaxy right now. And eventually like millions and millions of years, they're going to collide. But, so he calculates, okay, where would the Milky Way be? And he figures out like how to get back. And, again, it's an instant. Yeah. And then he gets there and there's nothing there. He's just like, what the heck? Like, I need to figure this out. So now there's this theoretical particle. It's called a tachyon particle. So if you're traveling the speed of light, in a sense, the faster you're moving, the slower time moves. So if you're traveling the speed of light, time starts to slow down for you. So essentially, like all time almost stops. So if you can go faster than the speed of light, then theoretically you can go backwards in time. So he figures it all out.
Yeah.
There's all this reasoning on how he figures it out, but he figures it all out, and then he's able to travel back in time. But it's like such a new thing that's not tested. So he ends up traveling back in time to like the 1960s, and so he's back on Earth in the 1960s, and the problem is nobody believes him that he's this astronaut who traveled to Andromeda, invented time travel, and everybody thinks he's crazy. But he did all of this because of a fear of being completely alone. And to him, at the end of it, he didn't matter, or it didn't matter to him. He needed to be around human interaction again, despite being locked up in a crazy loony bin because nobody believed that he traveled and saw these different worlds and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. So my wife is like, man, it's so depressing. I'm like, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And it's coming to you okay. As you like describe so perfectly these stories and these storylines, like I can only imagine the other ideas that have been floating up in your head.
Oh yeah.
Like, I just know you have so many. Are there ever times where you even get a creative block, Jay? Like, does it ever happen to you? Or are you just like swirling with so many ideas?
It ends up being like a kid in a candy store where you walk in and there's just so many options. You don't have a limit of options, but it's just a matter of picking which one. You know, that's the hard part. So do I have a creative block? No, not necessarily. I struggle more with which piece of candy am I going to pick?
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Yeah. I love that. Okay. Well, I do think we're wrapping up time. I could talk to you for like a whole other hour if I could. So might have to bring you back on another season, Jay, if you're open to it. But I want to ask one more question, just to kind of wrap this all up. And then I'll open the floor too, if there's anything that's like on your heart that you want to share with, our listeners. But if a young filmmaker found this podcast 10 years from now, what's one piece of advice that you would want them to take from you?
I would say it's probably multifaceted, but what's always been good for me hasn't always led to the most amazing success, and at the same time it has led me to my success. It comes back to just going and doing. And I've spoken on this before, and I think it's really important. There's so many things that like we as people want to do, and we can only get there by taking the step in that direction. But there's so much fear to do it. But if you let fear cripple you, then you're never going to be able to get what you're dreaming of. Or you may never get to the point of realizing, like, you might get that and realize, I don't want that. So now I don't have to daydream about it anymore and obsess over it because I went for it and I got it and I realized that's not for me. And you can shift your focus somewhere else. But you can never get there unless you're actually doing something. And I think comparison cripples us from doing things. I think finances cripple us from doing things. Anxiety, low confidence, these are all things that I struggle with all the time. But I also know I only get this one life. I have been gifted these passions and desires for a reason, and to just keep them into a little basket of what ifs isn't serving anybody. It's not serving me. It's not serving the people that I can potentially collaborate with in the future. It's not serving the people who could watch my films and be inspired by them. Like, imagine if, Christopher Nolan had decided that he was too scared to do something or too low confident to do something and just didn't do it. Like, what would we miss out on?
Yeah.
We would, and I'm not saying that that's going to be the result of everything, but it's like, we just don't know. And whenever I look at any successful person in any industry, in the history of anything, the common thread is they took that first step in that direction. Yeah. And that's the start of opening up the floodgates to a million other things to get you to success. But that's really the core of it.
Yeah. When you're in moments, and I'm sure there have been moments where you're like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And then you get throughout your journey, you're like, I'm not in the season of just do it. Like, I actually feel a little bit paralyzed. Is there someone that you reach out to, something that you tap into? Like, what is your go-to source to be like, I've got to reframe my perspective and just take action? I'm curious, genuinely, like, so curious what you do for yourself to kind of flip that switch a little bit.
you wouldn't know this, but I'm an incredibly stressed out person, and I internalize it a lot. Yeah. And sometimes it can be overwhelming at times. And I find myself, when I get to that point, just maybe less motivated or maybe a little paralyzed, and work is a lot slower. And I start to question, like, what am I doing with my time? What am I missing out on with my family? Or when am I going to make this film? Because I'm just so bogged down with client work. There's nobody I reach out to. What I do is I come back to the present moment, which is cheesy, but it's not just be like, okay, I'm here right now, living in the present moment. It's more like trying to find something beautiful in what I'm doing. And it's as simple as like yesterday I was doing this educational thing that was on a very boring topic that I could talk about in my sleep, and inspirationally it's not moving me, but it's more so trying to find, like, I really liked the way that the light was coming in through this window. And for whatever reason, that little ray of light brought me back to, like, I just love seeing beautiful things that I'm never going to see that ray of light ever again. Like, that moment is there and it's gone. If you follow me on Instagram, one thing I post often in my stories are sunsets. And, like, living in the Southwest, we get the best of them. One thing I love about sunsets, and my kids make fun of me about this all the time, you'll never see the same sunset ever again. Yeah. It's always different. And it's this beautiful thing that is so fleeting. It's this artwork that it's just so mesmerizing that is only there for maybe 20 minutes. Yeah. So, and it changes and then it's gone. Yeah. And so it's like, you can either look at it and enjoy it and then, say goodbye to it and then move on, or you can ignore it and never see it and miss out on it. Right. So I tried to, like, find, like, the sunsets and the different things that I'm doing that suck, So I'm editing something. If it sucks and I'm bogged down and I'm not inspired, I try to find something. I try to find a sunset in it. Yes. And I try to do that in other aspects of my life. So, like, parenting is hard. And when my kids are frustrating me or annoying me, which they can do, try to come back and just, like, look at them. And while they're doing something that's pissing me off, trying to remember, like, man, like, I had a hand in creating that little person. And they are their own little person. And they're so beautiful. And, like, the way that he's getting upset at his brother is kind of cute in a way, and, like, it works sometimes, it doesn't work all the time, but
I know that makes me a little emotional too, because it is, like, same as the sunset. It's like you look at your kids and you're like, they're never going to be like this again, because they're growing and evolving, and, like, finding those many, like, micro moments of presence is really such a beautiful thing to keep you going and to keep doing what you're doing. Because, like, consoling
with a friend, like, that can help, but I think with anything, it has to be some sort of internal thing that you do on your own. And that's just like a cheerleader. And so for me, instead of the cheerleader being a person, it's whatever beautiful thing that I can find. That's going to be the cheerleader that kind of helps remind me of, like, life is so precious and beautiful. Why are you giving two shits about this right now? When in 10 years from now, you're not going to remember this moment,
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. Again, I wish we could go on and on, so we'll have to invite you back. But where can people find you? If they want to stay connected, they want to see more of your work, tell us where to find you.
Instagram, which is just my name. My website, which is also just my name. You just look my name up and you find stuff.
Awesome. Yeah. Anything else you want to leave with our listeners?
I don't think so.
Yeah. This was such a great conversation. Thank you so much, Jay.
Thank you.